Hello, hello, welcome, please come in. It's time for the final game in our Final Fantasy Samurai journey, and that is FF12. And keen-eyed among you may have noticed that the button markers on the screen are looking a little different than prior FF12 videos. And that's because this was recorded on the PC version of FF12. Why the change? Because, as I discovered while live streaming a randomizer of the game months back, the PC version just looks way better. Not only do the visuals just generally look a lot less visually muddy, the PC version runs at 60 FPS. Why doesn't the PS4 version run at 60 FPS? I do not know. But it does mean I will be recording future FF12 playthroughs on PC, so the footage hopefully looks a little nicer. And playing it is also much nicer. This does of course mean I need to remake the save I had in the Giruvegan Waterways post-Gambit tutorial, which means doing a lot of random nonsense early on with no license board. Although now that I think about it, I only have one license board remaining now that Bushi is done. So who knows how useful this will actually be. Oh, also the license board is called Bushi, not Samurai, but it's basically the same thing for our purposes. Anyway, we get to skip all of the intro nonsense and start out exactly where we need to post-Gambit tutorial in the Giruvegan Waterway, where we get Balthier and Fran. Spoiler, neither of these characters will be permanent additions to the party. Mostly because neither have great stat spreads for his katana damage, but I don't have a shop here, so it's time to just run straight through to meet our first guest, Amalia, who will join the party very briefly. And the first boss fight against some random slimes. This fight is not hard on any day, and Fran starts with access to basic fire magic, which the slimes are weak to. Next up is doing some treasure grinding because I'm going to need some dark motes later, and they have a chance to appear in this chest. And I got a dark mote 9 times in a row. I was genuinely convinced something had gone wrong with unrandomizing the game. Like, considering starting over and do a fresh install of the game. But then, on the 10th load, the chest was gone. And on the 11th, it was full of money. So, nope, not busted, I'm just really lucky apparently. Anyway, it is on to our next boss, Firemane. Fran and Amalia both have access to basic cure magic, which helps with survivability, somewhat. And the entire party can deal okay damage with basic attacks. I really can't wait to get access to better weapons, but for now at least, the basic healing and basic weapons I have is enough to take out the second boss, Huzzah! Then it's into Nalbina for a very easy fist fight. And sneaking through the fortress to find Guest Bosch, and it's into the Barheim passage. Actually, where is this passage to? It doesn't seem to have any meaningful start or end points. Anyway, I can now grab basic Bushi equipment. Katanas scale off strength and magic for some reason, and as such get access to mystic armor. Interesting. And into the Barheim passage, and the damage is okay. Not exceptional, but pretty good, all things considered. I am a bit concerned about the mystic armor angle, because it will mean my characters are generally less durable later on, and katanas scale more off strength than magic, but hopefully that should be okay. If nothing else, mystic armor and the number of magic lures they get should help keep cure as a viable healing method way longer than most classes. Which is good, because Bushi do not get any potion lures, or phoenix lures, so healing is going to be a problem. At least they get 2 remedy lures. Would be nice if they got 3, but I'll take 2, it's something. But enough worrying about the future, it's time for a boss fight. The Mimic Queen is not a super difficult fight, usually. And katanas are pretty strong and reasonably fast, so it's not too bad to take out all the little mimics and then attack the Mimic Queen until it dies. Okay, that done, it's back to the Sandsea, grab a sword, recruit player Bosch, who is, as usual, going to be a permanent party member. His magic stat is awful, but as I said, katanas do prioritize strength for scaling, and his strength is very good. For what it's worth, I tested Vaughn, Bosch, and Ash, and found the difference in their damage at level 40 to be basically 0. Anyway, it's over to Bujerba, where Lamont will join the party. As usual, this is great, because Lamont has Cura, which I love. The shop also sells the Asafune, a better katana, and better mystic armor across the board. I do like how close the HP lures are on the license board. Very helpful. Oh, I actually have Libra on a character. Guess I have to buy the self-gambit. I really wish you just started with all gambits in this game. That would be very nice. Anyway, Lusu Mines. These are pretty easy, as normal. Lamont has healing, the rest of the party can deal decent damage. This is not an overly concerning section. And the boss at the end is entirely optional. So, let's do a shouting puzzle, meet with the Marquis, and it's on to the Leviathan. Bossler also joins the party as a guest. He is not a great guest, because he doesn't add anything I otherwise lack, but at least he hits pretty hard. Oh, he has some interesting techniques, too. Neat. Through the Leviathan, grab these Reflect Emotes, and it's time for the next boss. Room full of dudes. The last time I fought these boys was in my magic only, and everything was awful. How will they fare when I have actual weapons? The answer is not super well, and I'm okay with that. In the prison, I get my final character, Ash, and some new armor, which is very nice. So, from now on, it's going to be Bosch, Ash, and Vaughn. Mostly because they have the best mix of strength and magic. And Ash has Cure by default, which is very useful. Anyway, boss time, Judge Geese. First, I need to take out all his little minions, then basically just smack him in the face until he gets low enough to start using Arrow, at which point a Reflect Emote very quickly ends the fight. Thank you, Reflect. You're very appreciated. Ooh, new katana. Yay! The Sandseas, the part of this game that exists. Vossler rejoins the party here, which is helpful if not exceptional, and there are a lot of treasures. And the golden amulet is the only one that is worth going out of my way for. I really like having weapons that deal decent damage. It makes everything so much easier. Although I am going to struggle a bit with the next boss on the list, Garuda, because this is the only required flying boss in the entire game, and katanas cannot hit flying targets, which is a problem. Good thing Vossler has telekinesis, and I found some dark motes earlier in the game. Oh, Garuda, you're such a silly boss. I probably should have grinded out some more dark motes, huh? Oh well, B-Team, can you try to survive long enough for Vossler to finish this? Thank you very much. And the shop here sells new and better armor. Money is starting to get a bit snug though, which I don't prefer. Oh well, we're almost to a pretty good money grinding spot, so it should be fine. Next boss is the Demon Wall. It loves to inflict blind, which is bad, but manageable. It also loves to inflict sleep, and finally X-Zone. All of these are inconvenient, but not too bad. Katanas just deal damage very quickly. Anywho, running around, activating switches, saving up money to stock up on current equipment, and buy some status healing items, and it's time for the next boss fight. The first Esper, Belias. And my damage is pretty good, which I like, especially when I get in a decent number of hits. Firaja is real rough though. All the boons I have to my offense really don't help with survivability. At least Ash has Cure. That's gonna stop being good soon enough, but at least for now, it will do. And beating Belias means I can finally use Shades of Black, which is somewhere. Where's this stupid technic? Oh, there it is, right here. Okay, that's gonna take a bit before I have the LP to grab that, but Ash is gonna make a beeline for it. Anyway, Dawn Shard in hand, and it's back on board the Leviathan to face down Vossler. This fight isn't too bad. It usually isn't unless you are in a position to need offensive magic. Vossler can be practically incapacitated by just constantly dispelling his reflect status, because he prioritizes recasting it over doing basically anything else, which is very funny. I will need to restock on dispel motes later, but I'll have plenty of time to do that. With the Leviathan completed, it's back to Rabanastre, and it's time for an airship ride to Nalbana, where I can rent a chocobo, scare away a guard, and it's into the Mosforan High Waste, and then to the northern half of the Westersand to grab the Berserker Bracers. So Bosch is going to be headed straight for that, with his LP. We love Auto Berserk. Anyway, now I can head into the Giza Plains Wet, knock down some old trees to form a bridge, and it's time for some treasure grinding. Because this treasure chest here can give me a Magaroku, if I'm careful. This isn't an exceptional katana, but it is better than what I have, and it is also free. And given how tight money can be in this game, it is definitely worth grabbing a handful for the party. Okay, onward, further south into the Osman Plains, and then into Jahara. We'll reach another shop soon, so there isn't really any reason in buying anything here, but I can pick up a Pheasant Netsuke to boost Vaughn's healing item usage, which is very nice, and Lamont rejoins the party. Huzzah, Cura! Next, it's into the Galmore jungle, then into a rude village. We need to rescue Fran's sister, but first, it's now finally shopping time. And while I probably don't actually need the money, I have the current equipment and decent healing item access, but I might as well do some panther grinding. Money and LP good. And that is Shades of Black, a technique that uses one of 25 random black magic spells against an enemy. This is genuinely quite good, at least for now, as some of the strong spells it can use are game changers at this point. That will become less true as the playthrough continues, but for now it's all Shades of Black for Ash. Oh, and I also got the license for Berserker Bracers for Bosch, which means my damage has very much come online, and the Pheasant Netsuke, meaning my healing is about as good as it's going to get. I don't think I ever realized how many HP lures the Bushi license board gets. Anyway, it's into the Hen Mines we go. Ooh, big laser. We love when we roll big laser. Shades of Black also helps against the many slimes that spawn here. I should probably actually lead with Ash, right? Since Shades of Black can be very strong, but it has a decent charge time. Yeah, that seems to be working a bit better. Ah, sweet, sweet little murder. Shades of Black is really good right now, mostly because most of the spells it can cast are pretty strong for this point in the game. Anyway, fun times are over now, it's Tiamat time. And this is fine. This boss is way more durable than he probably should be, but he isn't actually that dangerous. No magic, because Reflect, and it does love to use Disablega on my party, which complicates things, but this fight is more time-consuming than interesting. And then it's into the Elder Worm fight, which is annoying in a different way, because Sporefall. Good news is that Shade of Black has a secondary benefit. Ash stays far away from the rest of the party. This makes it much easier to cure all these random status effects that the party keeps getting impacted by, and it keeps not targeting Bosch, which is very silly considering he is my primary damage dealer. Oh well, I'll take an easy win. Hello, Paramina Rift. Hello, Mount Baramises. Grab the crystal, you idiot, and drop off Larsa. No more Kira. Sag. Oh well, I have plenty of money, and the shop sell new katanas and new armor, which is always nice. Oh, the Murasame deals water damage? Elemental damage on weapons can be useful, but it can also cause a lot of problems. There are many bosses in this game that are immune to most elements, meaning your best weapon can end up meaning absolutely nothing, which is not ideal. And it's time to head south to the Still Shrine of Miriam, which has its own brand of teleport nonsense. Activate switches, hoping Shades of Black behaves. It sometimes does. And then it's time to murder a whole lot of undead for some free money. Wait, I don't need to do this. I already have plenty of money. Never mind, moving on. And that means I can head into the next boss fight against Vinuskar. Huh, I guess katanas don't count as metal? Does this only impact armor? Oh wait, no, this might be slower. It's hard to tell and the fight is over so quickly. I guess it doesn't matter. Anyway, the statues have been rotated and that means it's time for another boss fight. And that means I need to downgrade katanas. I already know Marius is immune to water damage. Marius also uses Reflect, so that means no Shades of Black. All very sad. On the other hand, I have a surprising amount of health. The party still deals good damage, even without Shades of Black. And even Blizzaja is a minor setback at worst. Ash barely even uses any MP. Well done, team. That is another Esper in the rear view. And that means it's time for new armor. Nice. Love new armor. Oh, and a boss fight. Priority 1 is taking out Bergen's ads. That is handled pretty effectively with some modes. And then it's time to switch to normal strategies. Shades of Black, attack, desperately heal. Bergen does hit very hard, which can be scary, but it doesn't end up mattering that much. Another boss down. And with that done, the next destination on my list is Arcades. But that's a long way away yet, so it's back to the Mossforan High Waste, which I could have warped to directly, not sure why I didn't. Then it's into the Salika Wood, collect some Moogles, and the Fawn Coast has a camp where it's time to buy some new gear. Most importantly, some new non-elemental katanas. And new armor. This should be very helpful. I am a little broke though, so let's pop back to the Still Shrine to grind out some quick money. There we go, new equipment acquired. I really should get the remedy lures now. Bushi only get 2, but having both of those should be very useful in the upcoming fights. That done, we leave the Fawn Coast for the Tchita Uplands. Shades of Black is still dealing some good work, but it is starting to fall a bit behind, which is to be expected. The ratio of good spells to not good spells changes as I get further in the game. And now it's time, into the Soken Cave Palace, and it's time for the stupid tomato family. And yeah, those remedy lures are so useful. The tomatoes love to inflict a lot of status effects, but that is much less debilitating when I can cure most of them with a single item. Shades of Black may be falling off a bit, but Bosch with Berserk is still dealing a lot of damage very quickly, which is even more notable in the next boss fight against Ahriman. Ahriman does inflict Doom, which is not ideal because I can't actually cure it. I just have to wait for the character to die and then use a Phoenix Down. But between Vaughn and Ash spamming remedies, Phoenix Downs, and healing, the fight's not actually too bad, which is nice. I love when the Soken Cave Palace isn't a nightmare. Ah, and we're here, Arcades, which means all new shops to look at. And the most important items now available are X potions. Huzzah, better healing. Which is super important, because Cure is not going to be able to keep my healing needs covered forever. I can also buy new katanas and new armor. I'm low on money again. Healing items are so expensive. Alright, into Draklor, and Draklor is not super interesting, as normal. There are a decent number of modes I could grind out if I wanted to, but I don't think that would be worth the time. And the random encounters are very easily taken out thanks to Berserk attacks and Shades of Black. I do need to pick up Guild Toss right at the end. This is an important tool that will help later. Much later. But for now, it's boss time. Let's see how Sid handles getting comboed aggressively. And the answer is, not well. The drones die very quickly, and as soon as Sid is vulnerable to attacks, the fight basically ends. As I kind of expected, Bushi are crushing this game. And we are almost to the point of solving my money issue, which means heading south through Galmore Jungle into the Feywood, and it's time for the next boss, Rafflesia. The field effect for this boss rapidly drains MP, which is fine, I don't actually use that much MP, thanks to X potions and Shades of Black, and without that risk of MP loss, this fight isn't actually that difficult. I mean, the disease infliction is bad, and the fact that you can't buy serums until after Giruvegan is stupid, but it doesn't actually matter that much, and with easy enemy reset completed, it's time to slaughter some Mirror Knights. They drop a lot of valuable loot, spawn in an easy-to-kill circle, and now that Rafflesia is dead, I can easily run 2 zones away to reset their spawns. So we'll be back shortly. Okay, that should be enough money for a while. Time to head south, grab the golden amulet here, and navigate the stupid puzzle to reach Giruvegan. And then immediately warp back to Rabanastre to catch an airship ride. Here, I can buy teleport stones so I never have to worry about these again. And then warp over to Valfenheim to buy the new equipment I couldn't afford a little bit ago. And fully stock up on healing items. Okay, I think it's also about time I maximize my LP to unlock all the licenses I will want for the rest of the run. Which means I need to do some hunts to unlock the Encalados hunt. Completing this gets me the 3rd and final golden amulet, which means I can now get double LP. And that means trial mode. I really appreciate the Zodiac Age remaster having trial mode. It makes getting LP so much faster and easier than it normally is in the base game. I'm not sure how essential it would be in a casual playthrough, but at least for my purposes in doing these challenge runs, it's really great. Huh, I did not realize how many HP lures Bushi get. Yeah, a lot of them are locked behind quickenings, but at least for single board runs, they aren't competing with anything. Bushi might end up more durable than I'd expected despite being limited to Mystic Armor. And with all the LP I should ever need acquired, it's Giruvegan time. And that means it's into the first boss, Daedalus. Daedalus is a very weird boss because it spends most of the fight dying very quickly, and then gets very, very strong right at the end, and that remains true here. Thankfully, I have a lot of Phoenix Downs, and Bosch still deals really good damage. Let me actually switch Ash to using Cure a bit more. It doesn't heal enough to be at all useful in combat anymore, but I'm not using her MP for anything else, and a lot of Cures should be pretty useful at preserving my healing items for actual fights. Besides, Bosch is really carrying the damage now that Shades of Black has kind of stopped being that useful. And saving healing items should be very useful when I waste a bunch killing an N-type because it annoyed me. Seriously, I don't know what is wrong with me. But here we are, and it's next boss time. Tyrant can hit pretty hard and does have gravity magic. Good thing I have a bunch of Domain Calvados to apply Bravery to Bosch for more damage. And oh, that was not good. Time to switch in the B team for some emergency Phoenix Downs. Okay. We're good. The boss is dead. Wasn't even worried a little bit. Into the Great Crystal. Oh yeah, there are Mystic Armor pieces hiding around here. Nothing super exciting, but any improvement is good. And it's time for the final boss of the zone, Shemhazai. And this is a fight where I need to be careful. I don't have any elemental damage, so that isn't a problem, but Shemhazai loves to spam Flare and Shock, both of which deal pretty big damage. So keeping my HP topped off is the name of the game while Bosch attacks. But it's not really that difficult, as usual. Okay, there's not actually that much left to wrap this game up. Back to Valfenheim to sell things, restock on healing items, and buy all the new weapons and armor I can now purchase. We love new weapons and armor. Redis also joins the party, which is a considerable improvement. Just having a 4th character is great. I do, however, need more money. Also, the best katanas I can buy are elemental, which I don't prefer, but maybe that wind element will be useful. Probably not, but who can say? Oh, Mirror Knights, why did they give you so much good loot? It just seems cruel after a certain point. It's also time to take another airship ride, this time to stock up on some serums for disease curing, which is essential in the Pharos. Then another airship ride to Valfenheim to grab Dispel Motes. I don't need a ton of these, but there are a lot of bosses that would love to keep their buffs up, and I disagree. And with all that preparation done, it's time for the Pharos, final proper dungeon and last big boss rush before the finale. Oh, I should grab the free Pheasant Netsuke here. Boosted X potions are going to be way more useful than Cure on Ash. And first boss on my list is Hydro. It hits hard, inflicts disease, and loves to drain all my MP. Good thing, I also hit very hard, I have plenty of serums, and I don't actually use my MP for anything. This fight always gets a bit tense right at the end thanks to the way bosses work in this game, but it's a fairly easy victory. And right before the next boss, I can grab a pair of Hermes sandals. Normally I would have grabbed these in the Necro Hall of Nabudis earlier, but Bushi have been doing so well, I just really didn't feel the need to. Turns out katanas deal a lot of damage. Who knew? And that means next boss time, Pandemonium. The boss is actually weak to wind, so the Amino Murakumo is kind of useful here. Though given that this is probably the easiest boss in the Pharos, it's not that useful. The turtle does set up its everything-proof shield, but that is a delay tactic, not an actual strategy. And thanks to a convenient teleport crystal, it doesn't even impact my supply of healing items. Onwards! Snuff out some candles, build some bridges, and it's next boss time, Slight. And you better believe I'm a little concerned about this fight. Bosch does have haste, berserk, bravery, so he can deal big damage. On the other hand, my healing is not that great, and Slight, it's like a truck. Especially in the final stage of the fight, where he just spams attack constantly. It does take a lot of healing, and Phoenix Downs, but I do win. And that is probably the last boss I was at all worried about, and it went a little better than I expected, which is always nice to see. Next, we give up the map to progress, because I have two, why would I need it? And right before the next boss fight, I can pick up the Muramasa for Bosch, a stronger katana that is, thankfully, not elemental. Just in time for the Fenrir fight. Fenrir can be pretty scary with its buffs, good thing Dispel Notes exist. With buffs removed and Bosch and Maximum Murder set up, this fight is really easy. Fenrir really is the most disappointing of the Pharos bosses. Oh well, maybe he'll actually be interesting in the next run. I mean, he won't, but we can dream. Google FF12 teleport puzzle, click the colors in the right order, and it's Ashmal time. Float modes solve most of this fight by themselves. Having a wind element katana solves the other half. This fight can be overwhelming trying to cure disease and restore HP, but it does not matter when I'm dealing this much damage this quickly. I would recommend not being weak to wind in the future, Ashmal. Okay, that means only 2 more bosses left to go before the Pharos is completed. Grab the Mega Elixir the game really wants you to miss, then absolutely wreck Gabranth. He's only scary at low health, and in this fight, he doesn't get to be in low health. Finally, it is Sid. Beat him up, then out comes Famfrit, who is actually kind of scary. Famfrit has buffs, and Sid loves to refresh them, so frequent Dispel Motes are an absolute must. Combined with keeping the party healthy and not dead, means the party is very busy. Good thing my damage is good enough. I don't have to maintain that balance for very long, and as soon as Famfrit drops, Sid is defenseless and quickly follows suit. And that is the final dungeon completed, which means all I have left is the actual final boss fights. Let's see if Bushi can bring this home. And that starts with the Gabranth fight. Like the fight in the Pharos, this fight is not at all difficult until Gabranth gets to low health and starts comboing really aggressively. But that's okay, it's time for me to unleash that important tool that was going to help me later. Well, it's later, and it's time to Guild Toss. This technique is expensive, but deals a lot of damage very quickly. And I may have waited longer to use it in this fight than I should have. B-Team, can you stall? Yes, okay, that was closer than I thought it would be, but that is the first boss down. Next up is the regular Vayne fight, which is very easy and very boring. His cutscene attacks make this fight last longer than it should, but not in a threatening way. Next up is Swole Vayne. First priority is taking out the flying swords he has. Bosch stays in Berserk mode, so I can focus the swords as much as I'd prefer, but that's fine. Bosch is dealing more than enough damage to wrap this up, and that brings us to the Undying. And unlike Gabranth, I will not be waiting until low HP to throw out all my money. Instead, Ash and Vaughn are going to do nothing but use Guild Toss every single second they don't need to be healing, which, in the first phase of the fight, is pretty frequently. And because of how Guild Toss calculates damage, it's dealing over 9,000 damage per use. Vayne barely has time to use the first of his 3 palings before he drops, and the game is over. And that was Final Fantasy XII, beaten with only Bushi, and that was about what I expected it to be. As usual, samurai are very strong in a Final Fantasy game. Between good weapon selection, decent magic access via Shades of Black, and the balance-ruining Guild Toss, Bushi are scary. But I will have more to say about that in the summary video, out next week. I did want to shout out that I do have a Patreon, linked in the description. I spend a lot of time making these videos. So if you enjoyed the video, Want to support the channel, and are financially stable enough to do so, that exists. No pressure though, this channel is free to enjoy for everyone and will remain that way. For now, if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you'd like to see more of this, feel free to subscribe. Hey, maybe leave a comment if you have something you'd like to say. But whatever you decide to do, have a safe trip home.